All right, so you're thinking about diving into the world of securities analysts, high finance, fast-paced decisions, maybe a little bit of, that Wall Street intrigue.
More than a little, I'd say.
Yeah.
But we'll get into all that.
Oh, absolutely. We're digging into your RoleCatcher intel on this career path. Looks like you've been doing some serious research.
Smart move. Today's deep dive is using some excerpts from their career guides. But keep in mind, RoleCatcher, it's way more than just information. They can really help you use that info to, tailor your job search, research companies, really stand out.
I love that. Okay, so let's unpack this. First things first. What does a securities analyst actually do? It can't just be staring at spreadsheets all day, right?
Yeah, well, you'd be surprised.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is more dynamic than people think. Essentially, it's about analyzing, well, a whole lot of information. Financial data, legal documents, economic trends, all to advise clients on investments.
So, like, taking a company's financial statements and trying to figure out if their stock is a good buy.
Exactly. The career guide actually uses the phrase, and I quote, "They use their expertise to make recommendations and forecasts to business clients based on their analysis." But it's not just about the numbers themselves, it's understanding the story behind those numbers, identifying trends, and ultimately assessing risk and opportunity.
Oh, okay. I'm already seeing where the whole high stress levels thing comes in from the source material. Those sound like some pretty high stakes decisions.
Absolutely. You're giving advice that can make or break a business deal. And those decisions, they have real-world consequences.
No pressure, right. Which leads me to my next question. What's the actual work environment like? Is it all like tense trading floors and yelling into phones like we see in the movies?
Oh, Hollywood does love a stereotype. And while you might find some securities analysts thriving in those bustling corporate offices, the truth is they work in all sorts of settings. Government agencies, law firms, even nonprofits need their expertise.
So it's not always a suit and tie situation.
Not necessarily. What is consistent is that fast-paced, deadline-driven energy. The source mentions tight deadlines and long hours, especially when the markets are going crazy, and that's true no matter where you're working.
Okay, so long hours, high stakes environment.
Yeah.
That's not for the faint of heart. But there's got to be a reason people love this career path, right? So what are the upsides, the things that make those long hours worthwhile?
You're right, there are some serious perks. And it's not just the potential for, high earnings,
Right.
though that certainly is a factor.
Oh, yeah. How high are we talking? Spill the tea.
Well, the source mentions salaries in the top 10% for experienced analysts, particularly those specializing in high-demand sectors, like, say, tech or renewable energy.
Okay, now those are some numbers I can get behind. What else? What makes this career path so appealing, aside from, the potential to afford a nice vacation every now and then?
Well, remember the diverse working environments we talked about? That's a big draw for a lot of people. Plus, this field, it's constantly evolving. You're always learning, always adapting to new trends.
See, that's a big one for me personally. I love the idea of a job that keeps you on your toes. But all this talk about responsibility and high-pressure situations, it makes me wonder, what does it actually take to get into this field? Is it all about having a finance degree, or are there other paths?
A solid foundation in finance is key, of course. But the source material actually lists a surprisingly broad range of useful degrees. Economics, law, even computer science popped up. Really shows you how multifaceted this role can be.
Hold on, computer science, I get the finance connection, but what does coding have to do with analyzing stocks?
Data. These days, financial analysis involves huge data sets, complex algorithms. You need those tech skills to navigate that landscape effectively. Plus, a lot of firms are developing their own, proprietary software for analysis and forecasting. Having that tech background gives you a serious edge in that environment.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like Wall Street meets Silicon Valley.
Exactly. And that's just one example. The source also mentions strong communication skills as being super important for securities analysts.
Really? See, now that surprises me. I always thought it was all about the numbers. Why are communication skills so crucial in this role?
Well, think about it. You're not just crunching numbers in isolation.
Right.
You have to be able to explain your findings, and often to people who don't have a background in finance.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Imagine, presenting a complex investment recommendation to a room full of executives. That takes some serious communication skills.
That makes sense. It's about translating those numbers into a story, something compelling that people can understand and then act on. So it sounds like this career, it requires this really unique blend of analytical skills, tech savvy, and that ability to connect with people.
You got it. And all those skills, they become even more important as you climb that career ladder.
Yeah.
Speaking of, where do those skills lead? What does career progression actually look like for a securities analyst?
All right, so let's say you land that entry-level gig. What's the path from there?
The career guide we're looking at, it breaks it down into three main stages: entry-level analyst, junior analyst, and then senior analyst.
Okay, so starting with entry-level analyst, what does that actually involve on like a day-to-day basis?
At the entry level, you're really focused on building a really solid foundation.
Hmm.
So think, assisting senior analysts with research, gathering data, maybe helping to prepare reports and presentations. You're learning the ropes, mastering the tools, and really getting a feel for the fast-paced rhythm of the market.
Got it. So no time for coffee runs or making copies. You're thrown right into the action. Then you move up to junior analyst. What changes at that level?
As a junior analyst, you get to take on more responsibility. You're conducting more in-depth research, you're starting to identify potential investment opportunities, and of course, risks too. You might even assist in developing financial models.
Financial models. That sounds intense. Can you give me an example of what that might look like?
Sure. Imagine like building a model that predicts how a company's stock price might react to a change in interest rates. You're taking into account their debt levels, their competitive landscape, even global economic factors. It can get pretty complex.
Wow, that's impressive. So you're really starting to flex those analytical muscles at that stage. And finally, you reach the top. Senior analyst. What does that look like?
At the senior analyst level, you're the expert, right? You're leading the research efforts. You're the one providing your interpretation of the data. You're mentoring those junior analysts coming up behind you. And like the source material mentioned, you're presenting to those high-profile clients. You're playing a key role in shaping investment strategies.
Wow. From crunching numbers to shaping strategies and mentoring the next generation of analysts, talk about a rewarding career trajectory. But, earlier you mentioned ESG factors. Where do those come into play in this whole progression?
That's a great question. And it's not just a side note anymore. It's woven into the entire fabric of the field these days.
So it's not just about financial returns anymore. It's about like ethical investing, sustainable investing, all of that.
Yeah, exactly. Investors are realizing that, their money has power and they want to see it used for good. So like an entry-level analyst, they might be, researching a company's environmental impact. Or a junior analyst might be factoring in, say, social responsibility when they're assessing risk.
Which makes total sense because if a company's embroiled in some kind of scandal or they're harming the environment, that's going to impact their bottom line eventually, right?
Exactly. And at that senior level, you might be advising clients on actually building a whole portfolio that aligns with their values, or even guiding companies on how to improve their own ESG performance.
Okay, so it's not just like a box to check. It's really woven into every single stage of a securities analyst's career, which honestly, I gotta say, that makes this whole path even more interesting to me.
Me too. It's like this career path is evolving right in front of our eyes. It's becoming about more than just, profits.
Right. It's about aligning your skills with a purpose, having like a positive impact on the world,
Yeah.
while also, understanding those complex financial models and navigating the stock market.
And that's what's so exciting. It's a field with, real intellectual rigor, but also this increasing awareness of social responsibility.
Like the best of both worlds. So for our listener out there who's been taking all of this in, what's the key takeaway here? What should they be thinking about as they, continue exploring this career path on RoleCatcher?
I think the biggest takeaway is that the world of finance, it's changing fast. And, this deep dive, even with all these great insights we've uncovered from your RoleCatcher research, it's just a starting point. Don't be afraid to, dig deeper. Connect the dots between finance, technology, even ethics.
I love that. It's about being adaptable, staying curious, and recognizing that a career in finance, especially as a securities analyst, it's not just about Wall Street anymore. You got it. It's about using those analytical skills, that financial acumen, to shape a better future, one investment at a time.
What a great note to end on. So if you're ready to explore this dynamic and, let's be honest, ever-evolving world, head over to RoleCatcher. Dive into those career guides, explore some companies, maybe even play around with their AI resume builder. They've got everything you need to get started. And remember, the future of finance, it's about more than just numbers. It's about making a difference. Thanks for diving in with us.